health and eating and fasting are only two issues: what you eat and when you eat. The problem we have today is the standard inflammatory diet. We used to call it a standard American diet, but we have international audience here from Australia, from India, from UK, and also we would rather call it as a standard inflammatory diet. That leads to, like Dr. Goldhammer mentioned, standard inflammatory gut. And that is inflammation in the gut, and then it leads to disease in any organ by the translocation of metabolic endotoxemia. The problem is a processed carb, which is devoid of it has very little fermentable fiber, which is the food you feed your bacteria. That is why you are not feeding your own face, like Dr. Goldhammer mentioned, you're feeding the gut biome in addition. So the solution, once again, is what you eat. Is the food that you eat comes from plant-based source or animal-based source? Only plant-based source can give you the fermentable fiber to feed your tenants in your body. Your body is now occupied not only by you, by the tenants, that is the microbacteria. And the second part of that is when you eat, and that is fasting. Now, the time and event line of fasting is, initially when you fast, fast 24 hours or even less than that, 16 hours or so. There is a metabolic switch from carb burning to fat burning. And then when you continue fasting on day 2 and 3, autophagy or self-destruction of the cell particle and then engulfing it, which is called autophagy. Like Yoshiniro Osushumi in 2016 got a Nobel Prize for that discovery. Continuing fasting beyond 4 or 5 days reprograms at your stem cell level, which is called regeneration and rejuvenation. And that is the ultimate value of fasting, that reprograms or resets your physiology. Time restricted eating is like you create an eating window and then a fasting window. Most of our people that we recommend, either you skip your breakfast or skip your dinner. That gives you 16 hours of fasting. I personally do. I skip my breakfast. Instead, I eat avocado, MCT oil, and coffee without cream or sugar. And that breakfast our family does, that puts us into ketosis that extends 16 plus hours. And that is called nutritional ketosis. And the value is you have decreased insulin, then IGF-1, and then all the benefits that Dr. Goldhammer mentioned. Fasting mimicking diet is a very unique concept. The radar, nutrition sensing radar, that is IGF-1, mTOR, then insulin, and then stem cells, mTOR, and these nutrition sensing system does not sense if you feed very low carb, very low protein, and then adequate amount of fat, that is that too plant source. And then you are able to get by feeding the body and managing the hunger, yet developing the biological benefit of fasting as we see it in the biological markers. And Dr. Walter Longo is the one who started it. Now, there are people who mimic the fasting mimicking. And finally, the benefits of fasting preclinical is the extended lifespan, visceral fat loss, stress resilience, stem cell proliferation, regeneration, rejuvenation, and improved cognitive power, including retarding diseases like Alzheimer's disease. Clinically, we see decreased LDL, decreased triglyceride, And then, of course, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and inflammatory disease, are reduced as well. And then the value. Now, what I got out of fasting is metabolic flexibility. That is your ability to drive your body like a hybrid car. You can have the gasoline as a fuel. You can have the battery as the fuel. And this training of your body to use the metabolic switching, particularly the flexibility and that takes 2 to 3 weeks. And that is the biggest gain you have, and I have, by practicing fasting. And that is why you can go without food all day. Still, you are cognitively good because you are using your hybrid engine. And then in these months of ours where we have this unique problem of COVID-19, fasting helps you uniquely as well. There is an axis called gut-lung axis. Your gut is what is called the command center or ground zero of your metabolic activity. And when you eat the right kind of food or you fast, then the keystone bacteria, Akkermansia mucins, and then the bifidobacterium, these are keystone bacteria that stop or reduce your leaky gut that Dr. Goldhammer mentioned, and then it connects through short-chain fatty acid and other postbiotic metabolites to your lung, your urogenital system, and then to your skin and so forth. And that is the ultimate value at the gut level of fasting.
Dr. Naras Bhat or yourself, the question is juice fasting, where we consume green juices and veggie juices, safe for everybody, and which individuals should not attempt such a regimen without medical supervision?
Okay, let me answer the juice. When it is a fruit juice, it is not fasting. And by definition, by biological definition, fasting means you have to enter nutritional ketosis. And orange juice or grapefruit juice or these sugar-based juice does not lead you to fasting. Secondly, the green juices are excellent. In fact, green juices, we recommend it because it gives you enough of the plant-based, fermentable fiber, and then also some of the nutrients, and which is fine. And there is no problem there as long, so what's the criteria? How much sugar is there in the new juice?
What measures should we take to replenish nutrients that may have reduced due to intermittent fasting? So how do we replenish that?
Nutrients during the refeeding time or the fasting time? What's the we need to clarify this question. Is it during the refeeding time or fasting time?
No, it's replenishing. After you've done the fasting, then you have to rebuild your body according to what is being said here.
Right, the macronutrient or micronutrient, you need to have after you have finished your fasting, whether it is within the day, which is the eating window after your fasting window, then we recommend plant-based, whole food, okay, and with adequate amount of, once again, plant-based protein, because some of the animal-based proteins is associated with the fats that are pro-inflammatory, particularly palmitic acid and then stearic acid. These increase metabolic endotoxemia, so you're defeating that purpose. So our goal is, to push as much as possible plant-based food, and then of course, some of the vitamins, if you're missing, like vitamin D or any of the micronutrients, you may need supplements.
Dr. Bhat talked about MCT. Isn't that contradictory to SOS?
No oil, no added oil,
right,
in addition to the native oil in the plants that you eat.
Right.
So we have in intermittent fasting as well as fasting mimicking, we use MCT oil to enhance ketosis. If you do 8-hour window of eating and 16-hour of fasting, you can enhance the value of your 16-hour by adding MCT oil, or in my case, I use avocado and MCT oil and coffee without sugar or cream, and you're just increasing your nutritional ketosis. Additionally, unlike the regular coconut oil, MCT oil it enhances your gut bacterial balance.
We would like to hear some message to Naras Bhat about this topic, very interesting topic that we covered today. Yeah.
My message is that fasting, has two things. One is when to eat, and the other is when you choose when to eat, especially in the time-restricted feeding on a given day, then you should, as much as possible, synchronize it to the circadian rhythm. And because our body, our master clock in the brain, which is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, there is a master clock. Now we find there is a clock in every organ. And one of the important clock is in your gut. So circadian balancing of your time-restricted feeding is very important. Secondly, number one, you do your time-restricted eating every day. Number two, do the periodic fasting every so often, that each fast lasts for about 5 days. And then that is to reset your epigenetics from your stem cell onwards. So it is not one prescription of fasting, there are two. One is the daily fasting, and the other is a periodic fasting. And thank you all.